and
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour. The US and the UK attack Yemen again, claim to have targeted a Houthi underground storage site as well as missile and surveillance capabilities. Israel says 21 of its soldiers killed in the single deadliest attack since the conflict with Hamas began. India and Nigeria sign agreements on cooperation in energy, healthcare and mobility. An Indian diaspora worldwide celebrates the consecration of Lord Ram at Ayodhya. The United States and the United Kingdom conducted further strikes against Yemen's Houthis. Bright orange flashes from explosions were seen in Yemen's capital Sana'a in the early hours of Tuesday. The Pentagon said the latest strikes targeted a Houthi underground storage site as well as missile and surveillance capabilities. The UK's Defence Ministry also released a footage of its aircraft taking off from an unidentified location. It said the precision-guided bombs were used to strike multiple targets near the Sana'a airfield. The Houthis control the most populous parts of Yemen and said that their attacks are in solidarity with the Palestinians. The Houthi attacks have disrupted global shipping and stoked fears of global inflation as well. They've also deepened concerns that fallout from the Israel-Hamas conflict could destabilize West Asia. Meanwhile, UK's Foreign Secretary David Cameron says that the campaign to degrade Houthi capabilities to carry out further attacks would continue.
What the Houthis are doing is unacceptable, it's illegal, and it's threatening the freedom of navigation. That's why we've taken the action. Alongside that action is a whole set of measures we'll be taking, including sanctions and other pressure to put on the Houthis, combined, of course, with the action the Royal Navy is taking with others in the Red Sea.
Let me now bring you up to speed on the Israel-Hamas conflict. Israel's army has said a total of 21 Israeli soldiers were killed in an attack in central Gaza, making it the largest single loss of life for the military since the conflict began. Israeli military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari told reporters that militants had fired rocket-propelled grenades at a tank. He added that at the same time an explosion occurred in two buildings where the forces had planted explosives in order to destroy them. The buildings collapsed onto the troops. Israel's President Isaac Herzog released a statement on what he said was an unbearably difficult morning. And my colleague Sarah Coates joins us from Tel Aviv for more on this developing story. Sarah, what more can you tell us about the latest strikes on the Houthis in Yemen?
Hello there, Ramesh. Well, look, the Yemen-based group is now vowing a response. Its leader writing on X a little earlier, the strikes will only make the Yemeni people stronger and more determined to confront you. Now, we did get this joint statement from the United States and the UK a little earlier today. It said that these strikes were successful and that they destroyed weapons storage sites, also missiles and drone systems. This statement went on to say that the precision strikes are intended to disrupt and degrade the capabilities that the Houthis use to threaten the global trade and lives of innocent mariners. And look, it marks the 8th round of these such strikes in the space of around 10 days, as this situation there in the Red Sea is certainly escalating. But look, the Houthis have been vowing that they will continue these strikes on ships travelling through that vital shipping route, as they have been since November, saying that they will not stop targeting any ships that are potentially even related to Israel, or any ships that are travelling to Israel, until the IDF pulls its forces out of the Gaza Strip. And look, in terms of going forward, in terms of what we could see next, we did hear the US National Security spokesperson John Kirby. He came out last week to say that the US is making it harder for the Houthis to continue these attacks, saying that the US has other options available in case this goes forward, but didn't elaborate on what those options are any further.
Sarah, turning now to the Israel-Hamas conflict, what are you learning about the fighting in Khan Yunis inside Gaza? 21 Israeli soldiers are reported dead.
Well, look, Israel is this morning in mourning. This is a single loss of life, the largest loss of life within the space of 24 hours. But we do need to say there were 24 soldiers killed in the space of one day. This has been released early this morning. Condolences coming in from right around Israel's political spectrum. The Defence Minister, Yoav Gallant, he says the fall of the soldiers compels us to achieve the goals of the fighting. But so far we haven't heard a statement from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, according to that IDF spokesperson that you mentioned a little earlier, this happened in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. These troops were reportedly inside a building, getting it ready for demolition when this building was hit by an RPG that was fired at this area. These buildings then apparently collapsed on these troops, with a massive search and rescue mission then launched. The IDF says it is investigating to try and make sure this sort of incident doesn't happen again. But you mentioned the fighting that is ongoing inside the Gaza Strip, the heaviest fighting right now in that southern city of Khan Yunis. The Palestinian Red Crescent is ringing the alarm bells, posting on X that Israel is targeting its headquarters, saying that it's happening with artillery shelling coinciding with intense gunfire coming from drones. And look, that agency says that this is where many displaced people are actually trying to shelter. But we do need to mention that Khan Yunis, this is the largest city in southern Gaza. It is the area that the IDF, the Israeli military, believes is a Hamas stronghold. It says it's trying to clear Hamas terrorists from this area. And this is the same area that the head of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, comes from, and he is believed to be hiding in these underground labyrinth of tunnels that run right underneath the strip, potentially surrounding himself with some of the 130 plus hostages that do remain in the strip.
Sarah, thank you. That was Sarah Coates reporting live from Tel Aviv. In related news, the United States has called on Israel to protect innocent people after Israeli forces stormed one hospital inside Gaza. Israeli troops moved for the first time into Al-Mawasi district near the Mediterranean coast west of Khan Yunis. The forces stormed the Al-Khair hospital and arrested medical staff in the main city in southern Gaza. White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby on Monday said Israel had a right to defend itself, but added that U.S. expects them to do so in accordance with international law.
We know that Hamas deliberately uses places like hospitals to store weapons, house their fighters, even to some degree for command and control. And so that places a special need on the Israeli Defense Forces. They have a right to defend themselves. They have a right to go after these leaders. They have a right to take away the ability for Hamas to store and resource themselves, even if that is in hospitals. But again, I would say the same thing that we've said before on this issue, that we expect them to do so in accordance with international law.
Israel's Foreign Minister Israel Katz sidestepped discussion of a two-state solution at a meeting with European Union counterparts in Brussels on Monday. The EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell circulated a discussion paper with a roadmap to peace that calls for a preparatory peace conference organized by the EU and Arab nations. The US and UN were also invited to be conveners, while shortly before a meeting with his counterparts from the 27-member bloc, Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad al-Maliki said EU ministers must call for a ceasefire in Gaza first.
We have to call collectively for a ceasefire. We cannot accept anything less. We cannot be hesitant about a ceasefire. Every day that we show hesitancy, people are being killed. Innocent people are being killed, children and women and elderly. And this is intolerable and unacceptable. The life of Palestinians really matter, and we cannot accept that, the life of Palestinian children are being really treated less than the life of children anywhere in the world.
Meanwhile, Israel has proposed a multi-phase deal to Hamas, suggesting up to a 2-month pause in the fighting. The proposal, through Qatari and Egyptian mediators, includes release of all remaining hostages held in Gaza. It came a day after Israel rejected a deal by Hamas. According to Israeli officials, more than 130 hostages are still being held in Gaza. Neither Israel, Qatar, nor Egypt have confirmed this development so far. Reports about the progress in peace talks came as U.S. President Joe Biden's advisor, Brett McGurk, traveled to West Asia. In more news from the region, the likelihood that Lebanon being drawn into a war with Israel is growing by the day. Lebanon's caretaker Foreign Minister Abdullah Abu Habib on Monday said concerns are growing that Lebanon could be dragged into a regional conflict in a spillover from the Israel-Hamas conflict. While addressing the U.S. Council on Foreign Relations in New York City, Abdullah Abu Habib said such a conflict would not be a quote-unquote picnic for Israel.
Yes, we worry that we are pushed to this war. Hezbollah has more means than Hamas had. And therefore, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be costly for everybody. Of course, Israel has the Air Force, and they can dominate the air and the land as well. But on the whole, it's going to be damaging for everybody. I think the Israelis know that. And I think that they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't attack. And if they really reach an agreement in Gaza, this would stop immediately and automatically would stop in southern Lebanon or northern Israel.
Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council will hold a meeting on Tuesday to discuss the situation in West Asia, specifically the Israel-Hamas conflict. The goal of this meeting is to make progress towards a political, security and humanitarian resolution of the crisis and a lasting ceasefire. During the meeting, the UN chief and the UNSC members aim to discuss on a 2-day solution for the conflict in West Asia based on UN law and other resolutions. The UNSC meeting will be chaired by France's foreign minister. France chairs the United Nations Security Council for the month of January. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken began a tour of 4 African countries on Monday, meeting with the leaders of Cape Verde and Ivory Coast and touting America as the continent's key economic and security ally at times of regional and international crises. Blinken will be visiting Nigeria and Angola next. In Cape Verde's capital Praia, he met with Prime Minister Ulysses Correa da Silva. Blinken said the U.S. is committed to, quote, deepening, strengthening and broadening its partnerships with Africa. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met with his counterparts from Iran, Turkey and Lebanon ahead of the United Nations Security Council meeting on Tuesday. The bilateral meetings focused on the Israel-Hamas conflict, Syria and the tense situation in the Red Sea. The meetings took place in New York City on Monday. And ahead of the UN Security Council meeting to discuss Ukraine, Ukraine's ambassador to the United Nations, Sergei Kislyak, said Ukraine will win this war, but not only Ukraine, but the whole democratic world as well.
We reaffirm our unwavering support for Ukraine's independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders. we condemn continued military support for Russia's war of aggression, including by Iran, Belarus, and DPRK. Ukraine will win this war, but not only Ukraine, but the whole democratic world.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. Donald Trump remains the clear frontrunner as Republicans vote in the U.S. state of New Hampshire. The latest updates on the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict. And a Chinese vessel equipped with advanced surveillance equipment heads towards Maldives.
In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, one app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world, one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Former U.S. President Donald Trump remains the clear frontrunner as voting gets underway in the New Hampshire primary. The northeastern state is the second vote on which Republicans should lead the party to challenge Joe Biden in November's election. Nick Harper reports from Manchester in New Hampshire.
Well, here in New Hampshire, we'll see voting throughout the day on Tuesday. Polling stations throughout the state opened for Republicans to cast their vote to say which person they want leading the party in November's election and challenging the Democratic President Joe Biden. It has now come down to a two-candidate race. Donald Trump, the former president, versus his UN ambassador, Nikki Haley. That's because another candidate, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, pulled out on Sunday saying he sees no path forward to victory. His polling numbers were very low here in New Hampshire. Perhaps just 4 or 5% of the state was expected to vote for him. In terms of the polling for the other two candidates, we still see Donald Trump way ahead, potentially anywhere between 11 to 19% ahead of Nikki Haley. Now, she needs to show that she is an alternative to Donald Trump, that she can present a different vision for the country, one that is different to Donald Trump's. And she's hoping that the moderate independent voters in this state could give her a win. She knows she needs to cause an upset by winning here or coming in a very strong second. We were at a rally that she had in the city of Exeter, New Hampshire, and she seemed to appeal to the younger, college-educated voters, many of her messages seeming to resonate with them. But this is perhaps her last best shot at showing that she can become the Republican nominee. A big win for Donald Trump may make it hard for Nikki Haley to hang on in the race, although she is saying no matter what happens here in New Hampshire, she intends to compete in the next few state-by-state primaries, one in Nevada and then one in South Carolina in just over a month's time. She's hoping to do well there as she is the former governor of that state. But it will all depend on what the results are here in New Hampshire on Tuesday evening. Nick Harper in Manchester, New Hampshire, reporting for DD India.
And ahead of the voting, Trump took to the stage to woo New Hampshire voters, saying that Nikki Haley will be gone after the primaries.
We had a very good competitor, Ron, as you know, Ron DeSantis, and he fought hard and he fought well, and now we have one left. We started off with, really, if you add some Democrats into it, we started off with 13, and now we're down to 2 people. And I think one person will be gone probably tomorrow. And the other one will be gone in November.
Meanwhile, also coming out in Trump's support was his son Donald Trump Jr., who campaigned in Hollis. He said the U.S. went from a country with peace, growing wages and low gas to the antithesis.
This election is very simple. We can continue the failures with Joe Biden. We've seen what that can do. We went from peace, prosperity, low gas, a lot of jobs, wage growth for the lowest income earners, no wars, to the antithesis of that. There's a reason that the Democrat mega donors are funding people like Nikki Haley. Because whether it's Biden or Nikki Haley, it's the same thing to them. They're controlled. She's owned by Big War in Washington, D.C., and the same billionaire donors that literally put in Joe Biden to office. For them, it doesn't matter. They have their dancing monkey. They'll wind the strings. They'll do whatever they want for the swamp, and that's it.
Now, looking to solidify support in the final hours before New Hampshire primary, Nikki Haley made a representation, perhaps a last chance for her candidacy. Take a listen.
You look at any of these general election polls, any of them. Trump and Biden, it's a dead heat. It's going to be a nail-biter of an election. We don't know what's going to happen. But we're scared that it'll be 2018, 2020, 2022 all over again. I'm in every one of those same general election polls. And I defeat Biden by up to 17 points.
From the Democrats' side, U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris took aim at Republican curbs on abortion rights. The Democrats hope the issue will attract independent voters and increase the turnout in the November election. Republicans have issued restrictive abortion laws in nearly 24 states since the Supreme Court reversal of abortion rights. In his address, Biden said women in America face a new cruel reality because of new laws curbing reproductive rights. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris, kicking off a national tour on abortion rights in the key battleground state of Wisconsin, blamed former U.S. President Donald Trump for helping reverse U.S. abortion rights.
Today, in 2024, in America, women are turned away from emergency rooms, forced to travel hundreds of miles to get basic health care in another state that may have a different rule, forced to go to court to plead for help. They turned a deeply private and painful matter into a public matter. And we need the American people to keep making their voices heard. That cruel reality is a result of extreme Republicans who, for years, have made it their mission to end the Roe v. Wade decision.
Now, on the 51st anniversary of Roe, we speak of it in the past tense. In the last 19 months, in states across our nation, extremists have proposed and passed laws that criminalize doctors and punish women. The former president handpicked 3 Supreme Court justices because he intended for them to overturn Roe. He intended for them to take your freedoms. And it is a decision he brags about.
In more news from the U.S., the trial of E. Jean Carroll's defamation suit against Donald Trump was delayed until Wednesday after a juror fell ill. U.S. District Judge Lewis Kaplan in Manhattan sent one of the 9 jurors home to get a COVID-19 test after the juror reported feeling hot and nauseous. The trial concerns Trump's June 2019 denials of Carroll's claim that he raped the former Elle magazine advice columnist in the mid-1990s in a Bergdorf Goodman department store dressing room in Manhattan. A different jury last May ordered Trump to pay Carroll $5 million over a similar October 2022 denial. The judge will decide later whether Trump can testify. Senior Mexican, U.S. and Guatemalan officials will meet for talks on migration as Mexico set out plans aimed at reducing pressures on the U.S.-Mexico border. Now, speaking after meeting U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken last week in Washington, D.C., Mexico's Foreign Minister Alicia Bárcena said The two sides wanted to allow asylum seekers to sign up for the South for a U.S. government app used for scheduling appointments. The step plan for the app aims to reduce a buildup of people on Mexico's northern border. The minister said Mexican and U.S. officials reached 10 important agreements during their meetings. Meanwhile, the U.S. Supreme Court agreed to temporarily let U.S. Border Patrol agents out and cut or remove razor wire fencing that Texas officials placed along parts of the Republican-governed state's border with Mexico to deter illegal border crossings. The justices granted a request by President Joe Biden's administration to pause a lower court's ruling that temporarily blocked federal agents from disturbing the fencing. The U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, which issued the disputed interim ruling, is set to hear arguments on 7th February over whether Border Patrol agents violated Texas law by cutting the razor wire barrier. The U.S. reported yet another mass shooting incident on Sunday after a man shot dead 7 people at 2 locations near Chicago. Police officials said the suspect, named Romeo Nance, 23 years old, is believed to have fatally shot himself after the confrontation near Natalia in Texas. On to the Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Russia has claimed on Monday that its forces launched multiple offensives on the Ukrainian army and shot down their jets, while Ukraine said its armed forces repelled Russian attacks. According to Ukraine's military, at least 2 people were killed and 18 others injured in a missile attack on Kyiv and Kharkiv. The damages took place to nearby residential buildings and a gas pipeline. The Turkey Parliament's General Assembly is set to debate Sweden's NATO membership bid on Tuesday. The voting will be held after more than a year of delays. The decision of voting comes after the Turkey's Foreign Affairs Commission approved the country's bid for membership last month. In 2022, Sweden and Finland applied for NATO membership. Finland joined the organization in April 2023, while Turkey refused to ratify Sweden's bid. Turkey and Hungary are the only NATO members yet to ratify Sweden's application. Shifting focus to Asia now, a Chinese survey and research vessel equipped with advanced surveillance equipment is heading towards Maldives. The Chinese research vessel Xiangyang Hong 03 reportedly entered the Indian Ocean region and is expected to reach Maldives early next month. The vessel is set to run an ocean survey operation in the Indian Ocean region from 90 degrees ridge south of Andaman and Nicobar Islands to the deep South Indian Ocean. The Chinese vessel is heading towards Maldives after Sri Lanka refused permission for the ship to dock at one of its ports. My colleague Ahmed Muin Faruqi joins us from Colombo for more on this developing story. What can you tell us about the so-called Chinese survey and research vessels, and why do they pose a threat to India's interest in the wider Indian Ocean region?
Ramesh, good afternoon to you. Yes, you see that these Chinese research vessels, they are research vessels supposedly which can obtain data which can be used for dual purposes, that is both research as well as military purposes. That's one part of it. These research vessels have been coming into the Indian Ocean region since 2008, started in 2008 under the cover of anti-piracy measures initially. Later on, the research vessels started regularly coming into the Indian Ocean region. Now, this Xiangyang Hong 03 has earlier come into the Indian Ocean region, has done observed the surveying in Arabian Sea as well as in the Bay of Bengal on 2 previous occasions in 2019 and 2020. However, we should understand this, that most of these research vessels, they conduct a survey of the topography under the waters, and they constantly obtain the data with regard to the depth and the terrain that exists underwater. And this will be utilized for various purposes, including for whenever you have to run in submarines as well. So firstly, what has happened is that the Indian Ocean region, which India has always talked about maintaining safety and security of the waters in the Indian Ocean region, this is a little bit, we can consider that is under threat, because if a foreign vessel comes here with possibility of collection of data that can be used for dual purposes, this is something which most of the times can be looked at with some suspicion. That's what India is primarily bothered about. There is a strategic concern here because Indian assets exist in the region. So India has to take care of her own interests. Secondly, the research vessels have earlier also come to Indian Ocean region. They used to visit time and again. They have earlier docked last year in Sri Lanka, but the biggest diplomatic victory for India had been that for 1 year, Sri Lanka has put a moratorium on docking of these research vessels into any of its ports in Sri Lanka or coming into the exclusive economic zone of Sri Lanka. So right now, the ship that's going to Maldives will not dock at Sri Lanka, and it will directly head towards Maldives as such. Ramesh.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Ahmed Muin Faruqi in Colombo, thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure.
India's External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar on Monday co-chaired the 6th India-Nigeria Joint Commission meeting alongside his Nigerian counterpart Yusuf Tugar. The two leaders noted the expansion of economic cooperation, especially trade and investments. The two sides agreed to strengthen people-to-people exchanges, mobility and consular cooperation as well. India and Nigeria also cooperate closely in multilateral fora and decided to take that tradition forward. Addressing a joint press statement after the conclusion of the Joint Commission meeting, Minister Jaishankar said both countries signed agreements in energy, power, renewables, transport, healthcare, fintech, agriculture and security.
One of the agreements we signed was on solar energy. So we will see much more cooperation in the field of green and clean growth. Secondly, Nigeria and India, we both face big health challenges. How do we make medicines, health facilities affordable and accessible? So that is also something we will be looking at. We discussed transportation. How can we work together on transportation, on other forms of energy, on security. And so on investments on technology of various kinds, we are even looking at how do we use digital technology for cashless payments between our two countries.
Earlier, Minister Jaishankar addressed the India-Nigeria Business Forum organized by CII and the Nigerian counterpart. The visiting leader underlined that deepening economic partnership is key to the expansion of the ties. He encouraged businesses to enhance their networking, identify regulatory and policy impediments, and utilize opportunities.
Today, I would just say if there are some big geopolitical bets that India is taking, one of the bets is on the rise of Africa. That we are betting that in the next decade, we're going to see an amazing transformation here. So whether it is opening new embassies, encouraging more trade and investment interactions, creating more opportunities for political contacts, getting the systems really to know each other more, that is very much our objective.
Right, now take a look at some more stories making news around the world. The death toll from a landslide in China's southwestern province of Yunnan has now risen to 20 as rescue workers battled extreme cold wave conditions to rescue several dozen buried people. The landslide hit two villages in the southwestern city of Zhaotong, covering houses in brown mountain soil at the foot of a hill. The Weather Bureau in Australia has said a tropical low in the Coral Sea will likely develop into a cyclone and hit Australia's northeast later this week. The weather system, about 497 miles off the coast of Queensland state, could intensify to a Category 3 cyclone, bringing heavy rain and life-threatening flash floods. Oscar-winning actors Michael Douglas, Helen Mirren, Mel Gibson and Russell Crowe have been nominated for the 44th Annual Razzie Awards, which highlight the worst performances in previous year's films. Other nominees include Sylvester Stallone's Expendables, horror remake Exorcist Believer, and Salma Hayek and Jennifer Lopez. Still to come on DD India News Hour. India celebrates the birth anniversary of country's freedom fighter Subhash Chandra Bose. And India lifts 250 million people out of poverty in the last decade.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. The US and the UK attacked Yemen again, claimed to have targeted a Houthi underground storage site, as well as missile and surveillance capabilities. Israel says 21 of its soldiers killed in the single deadliest attack since the conflict with Hamas began. And India and Nigeria sign agreements on cooperation in energy, healthcare and mobility. Following missile launches and drone attacks between their territories last week, Pakistan and Iran have reached a mutual agreement for the return of their ambassadors to their respective posts by 26th of January. In a joint statement on Monday, the Pakistani Foreign Ministry said that Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian will visit Pakistan on 29th of this month, responding to an invitation from Foreign Minister of Pakistan Jalil Abbas Jilani. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka opted to keep interest rates unchanged on Tuesday, aligning with market forecasts. The central bank cited concerns about potential inflation influenced by a new tax and emphasized the goal of sustaining inflation at the target of 5% over the medium term, while also supporting the potential growth of the economy. As part of its ongoing assistance to Afghanistan, India has delivered 40,000 litres of malathion, a pesticide used to combat locust infestations, through the Chabahar port on Monday. Afghanistan's Agriculture Ministry has conveyed its gratitude to India for this aid, recognizing its importance in safeguarding crop and ensuring food security in the country. Malathion, known as for its effectiveness in arid regions with minimal water usage, is a vital tool in locust control. Bangladesh is currently experiencing a significant cold wave, with the season's lowest temperature recorded on Tuesday morning. The northern districts of Chuadanga and Sirajganj recorded 6.6 degrees Celsius temperatures, setting a new record of low temperature in the districts this season. A drastic drop in temperature has heavily disrupted daily life and routines across the country. The lowest temperatures in Dhaka was recorded at 11 degrees Celsius on Tuesday, the coldest day so far this year. The government has directed the closure of all primary and secondary schools, including madrasas, if temperatures fall below 10 degrees. According to a Niti Aayog report, a record 248.2 million people in India have moved out of multi-dimensional poverty between the years 2013-14 and 2022 and 23. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi said it's very encouraging, reflecting his government's commitment towards furthering inclusive growth and focusing on transformative changes to the country's economy. He said that we will continue to work towards all-round development and to ensure a prosperous future for every Indian. The report, titled Multi-Dimensional Poverty in India since 2005-2006, was released on 15th January by the Niti Aayog, the apex public policy think tank of the Government of India. The report further said that there was a significant decline in multi-dimensional poverty in India from 29.17% in the years 2013-14 to 11.28% in 2022-23. That's a reduction of 17.89%. February 23rd marks the 127th birth anniversary of the prominent freedom fighter Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. In line with his vision to duly honor the contribution of luminaries who played a significant role in the freedom struggle, the birth anniversary of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose is celebrated as Parakram Divas since the year 2021. Netaji's leadership of the Indian National Army and the establishment of the Azad Hind government exemplify his commitment to the cause of freedom. Prime Minister Modi will also launch the Bharat Parv on the occasion, which will be held from 23rd to 31st of this month. The event will take place in front of the Red Fort in the country's capital, New Delhi. And Prime Minister Modi led the nation in commemorating the birth anniversary of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose on Parakram Divas, or Day of Valour, on Tuesday. PM Modi extended his greetings to the people of India, underlining Netaji's unwavering commitment to the nation's freedom. He wrote on X, and I quote, "Greetings to the people of India on Parakram Divas. Today, on his Jayanti, we honor the life and courage of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. His unwavering dedication to our nation's freedom continues to inspire," unquote. The full dress rehearsal for India's Republic Day parade was held at the Indian capital, Delhi's Kartavya Path, on Tuesday. The Delhi police had made detailed traffic arrangements for the smooth conduct of the parade along the route. The forces were seen rehearsing at the National War Memorial in the city. The parade rehearsal began from Vijay Chowk and proceeded towards the Red Fort. Ahead of the parade, the Delhi police had issued an advisory updating about the traffic situation. The doors of Ram Temple in Ayodhya have been thrown open to the general public from Tuesday morning. Devotees in large numbers thronged the Ram Temple to participate in the first Arati after consecration ceremony. A large number of devotees have gathered outside the temple for a darshan. For the past many days, the whole of Ayodhya is resonating with an unparalleled wave of devotional fervor, with the presence of thousands of sadhus, saints and devotees from across the world. And Meghna Dev joins us from Ayodhya now. Meghna, yesterday the entry to the temple was restricted, limited only to the invitees, but now we are told the temple doors have been thrown open for all. Are large crowds still milling around the temple to catch a glimpse of the new idol of Lord Ram?
Yes, absolutely. And there's a lot of crowd. In fact, unexpectedly, there's a lot of crowd around Ayodhya, on the security control and manage the crowd, because this was something very unprecedented, that this much crowd will come, and this huge number of devotees will come just on the next day of the ceremony. Definitely a number of people are also coming by buses, their own cars, private vehicles and much more. While the private vehicle entry has been restricted, but we definitely do see that people since 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m. in the morning Indian Standard Time, people have started coming and they're walking towards the temple complex on foot, so that they can have a glimpse of Lord Ram, and also obviously go around the temple complex and see the majestic temple and how it's been constructed. So definitely there is a lot of excitement in people. But since today, now the temple is open from 2:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. onwards in the second half, and it is open from around 7 a.m. in the morning till 11 in the first half. And obviously in the second half, it is now open till 7 p.m. in the evening.
Meghna, the city Ayodhya was always a popular pilgrimage site for Hindus. The consecration ceremony was watched live on TV by Indian diaspora around the world. Do you think the new, bigger and better temple of Lord Ram has put Ayodhya firmly on the world map, one for the bucket list of Hindus worldwide?
Without a doubt, yes, Ramesh, when we actually see that people from across the globe come to Dwarkadhish, come to Somnath, Kashi Vishwanath, Mahakaleshwar, Kedarnath, Badrinath, and you know, all these, and when we go talk about the southern part of India, Rameshwaram, you know, all these places have got a lot of significance for Hindus, and they actually take holidays, plan their, you know, tours so that they can worship these sacred places. But besides that, now when we have this Ram temple in Ayodhya, it will definitely help the all-around development in Ayodhya. We see the approach roads are now very well built. All the shops around the roads have also been now very properly built. The construction, the facade looks really beautiful. You know, instead of in place of the earlier existing structure of the shops and everything, which was not very beautifully made up, or the facade did not look that beautiful. Now everything has been put in place so that a number of tourists can come, and definitely it is going to be, the connectivity is the most talked about subject as of now. That how people can reach Ayodhya, be it by road, people taking flights to Lucknow or taking a train, how do they come to Ayodhya? So all of this is the most searched thing as of now, and definitely it's a big opportunity to grab for the hospitality industry and for the small and medium businesses in Ayodhya.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Meghna Dev in Ayodhya, thank you, appreciate it. And Ayodhya's Ram temple ceremony was celebrated in Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria, with holy chants of Ram name, and a cultural activity was organized as well by the Indian diaspora there. The Indian diaspora in Australia celebrated Ram Lalla's homecoming with great enthusiasm. Live streaming of the ceremony from Ayodhya was broadcast at the Sri Durga Temple in Melbourne, Australia. The event concluded with holy chants, devotional songs, prasad distribution and cultural show. Indian community and devotees of Lord Ram celebrated Lord Ram's Pran Pratishtha in Ayodhya at My Ram Yoga Ashram at Vilnius in Lithuania. Our correspondent Ajay Mishra spoke to writer and founder Ramayan Gurukul Webulim Bangalore, R. Rangan. Take a listen.
Welcome to this very special broadcast. We are joined by Dr. R. Ranganji, who is the founder of Webulim, which is a Valmiki Gurukulam in Bangalore, where many students are learning the Valmiki Ramayana. And currently we are in Sita Vallabh Kunj in Sri Ayodhya Dham to speak about the significance of this very special occasion and also the Ram Tattva. Thank you, Dr. Rangan, for speaking to DD Network. First of all, what are the significance, according to you, when it comes to this very special occasion where we are going to see Ram, Bhagwan Ram again to be, Pran Pratishtha ceremony here in Ayodhya Dham?
National integration is the significance. Unity in diversity is the spirit of India, and that unity is Rama and Ramayana. Everywhere you can see this Rama. Beyond the caste, creeds and sects and languages, we see Ram everywhere throughout India. Starting from Assam's Madhavakandali Ramayana to Ezhuthachan's Malayalam Ramayana, everywhere you see Ram Katha in all languages of India. Therefore, it goes beyond the barrier of languages. The same way it goes beyond the barrier of caste, because Ramayana authors, Valmiki is supposed to be a Nishada, hunter, and Kamban is a weaver, Ezhuthachan is a fisherman, so on and so forth. Buddha Reddy is a warrior. So Ramayana crosses the barrier of caste. Ramayana crosses the barrier of sects also. So Rama represents the whole of India. Ramayana culture is Indian culture. Therefore, for us, this is a very great celebration of the unity in diversity.
Perfect. Dr. Rangan, because you have also translated and written Valmiki Ramayana in Sanskrit and English in your own thought process, what is the central message that is going to emanate from this Ayodhya Dham after 22nd?
What I feel is Rama embraces all in the epic. Rama embraces the hunter Guha, and he becomes the host of Shabari, and he also cajoles Skuril. He moves with the foresters like Sugriva and Jambavan. Such great man Rama. Following Rama, the Acharya, Ramananda Acharya, he also embraces various community people like Raidas or Senanavi or Sant Kabir, so on and so forth. So this Ramananda Sampradaya flows in Ayodhya following the footsteps of Rama. And even now in Ayodhya, we see many tribal representatives are invited to this, for this special occasion. So this is a message that everywhere, wherever in India we have celebrations, we should invite the tribal representatives. This is a message which Ayodhya celebration conveys.
Perfect. I think there are many occasions, such occasions where the Prime Minister Narendra Modi have invited these special groups and he has actually worshipped him. That significance and what is South India thinking, if you can just tell us through you?
Awareness is very much growing in South India, especially in Tamil Nadu. And Tamil Nadu is extremely connected with Rama, as we all know. Starting from its oldest literature of Agananuru or Purananuru, the Rama Bhakti flows in Tamil Nadu through Kambaramayanam and Alvars, so on and so forth. So the Tamil Nadu is celebrating this Ayodhya function.
Everyone can only imagine about the Treta Yuga and the Rama Rajya. Are we really going to see some elements of those Ram Rajya which are depicted in the Valmiki Ramayana now here in Ayodhya Dham?
Ram Rajya as a devotion perspective is already there in Ayodhya. All people here are Rama Bhaktas.
Thank you, Dr. Rangan, for speaking exclusively to DD India Networks. So we understand the governance system, the values of democracy, the values of peace and tranquility, and the whole world is our family is the central theme which is going to emanate from this Ayodhya Dham. In this special broadcast, that's it. Thank you from the whole team with camera person Naveen Shah. This is Ajam Mishra reporting for DD India in Sri Ayodhya Dham.
Now to sports now. The Indian women's team is all set to play inaugural edition of the FIH Hockey Fives Women's World Cup. The tournament is set to take place from the 24th to 27th January at Muscat in Oman. The Indian women's team find themselves in Pool C alongside the US, Poland and Namibia. India will play their first match against Poland on 24th. The Australian Open tennis major is already in the quarterfinal stages in Melbourne. In men's quarterfinal tie, world number 1 Novak Djokovic is playing against 12th seed Taylor Fritz of the United States. He's leading with 2-1. Novak Djokovic is looking for a record-breaking 25th Grand Slam title. Spain's Wimbledon champion and second seed Carlos Alcaraz faces Olympic champion Alexander Zverev of Germany in arguably the pick of the last 8 ties. 4th and 5th seeds Yannick Sinner and Andre Rublev are all pitted against each other, while the 4th quarterfinal sees Hubert Hurkacz take on Daniil Medvedev. In women's quarterfinal tie, the US Open champion Coco Gauff beat Ukraine's Marta Kostyuk in the first quarterfinal of the day 7-6, 6-7, 6-2. In the second face-off of the day, defending champion Aryna Sabalenka will take on Czech 9th seed Barbora Krejcikova. And the unveiling of nominees for these 96th Academy Awards is scheduled for Tuesday. Considering the outcomes of this year's Golden Globes and Critics' Choice Awards, top contenders for nominations include Greta Gerwig's Barbie, Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, and Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. The nominations will be announced approximately 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time in the US, live from the Academy's Samuel Goldwyn Theatre in Los Angeles, and can be viewed on the Academy's digital platforms. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.